The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
To Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is a big Monday after the blizzard of 22.
And let me tell you something, people. If you're going to be out there driving, be very careful, number one. And number two, if you're next to a Dunkin' Donuts, stay as far away from it as you can because those people are crazy and you will get into an accident because it's a Dunkin' Donuts. I'm telling you now, even coming in, I was driving down Irving Street and they're all stopping rapidly in front of you. Thankfully, I stayed way behind them because I knew it was a Dunkin' Donuts.
Well, the roads are horrible.
Yeah, they are.
And it seems like they're doing everything they can to make it more difficult. I was coming up here to the studio today, and they've got the rotary blocked off. Even though I came here yesterday after the storm, you know, obviously, and it was passable instead of, you know, trying to wait, but because now they've decided to clear the snow after they got their weekends off. But roads are not in good shape. And we had a nice big fire over the weekend. After I came in from the yard, I looked out my kitchen window and I could see the flames coming from Irving Street, and of course they were hampered. Of course, the weather, you know, the most difficult time to fight a fire, but they had cars on both sides of the street. So
yeah, so you people who live on Irving Street, you're screwballs. If you parked during the parking ban on the wrong side of the street, you made the fire worse. You're the ones that are responsible, and they should hold you responsible for it. They should have told your cars at 6 o'clock, and I firmly believe when the city puts a parking ban into effect, tow, then tag. And start the towing immediately upon when the parking ban goes into effect. I'm tired of seeing this stuff that you don't do anything until midnight. Midnight was too late, okay? So the city dropped the ball on that one.
Oh, look. All that was a threat to see how many people would move. You know, that's the government at its best. Nobody's going to do it the right way. Listen, it's just like now. You let all the criminals go, and then you wonder why there's crime all over the place. Because what you do is you screw it up. Let government handle anything. If you truly want people to respond to a parking ban, the best way to do it is show that you're serious. The parking ban went into effect at 6. It didn't start snowing till after midnight, and it wasn't really heavy till the next day, in the morning.
Right.
Late morning, early afternoon. 6 o'clock, the tow truck should have been out.
That's it.
Start towing them at 6 o'clock and do that at every snowstorm, and you will be clear. You could have saved maybe some more property damage and made it a lot easier on the firefighters because they couldn't get the average. They had to drag hose under those conditions farther. They had to, who knows what kind of ladder placement they had. They probably couldn't get the ladder truck in a good position. And it's just government again, this BS of we're gonna say there's a parking ban, but we couldn't do it because the snow got too high and they couldn't do it then. And 6 o'clock. I'm gonna tell you something. There are even little towns who do it right.
Tiverton and Westport.
Somerset. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I'll give you an actual experience. Some years ago, I was over in Somerset. I stopped I was parked. I stopped at a store. I come out. I got a ticket on my car. The cop was still. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Parking ban started. 3 o'clock. It's 3 o'clock. 2 minutes past 3." I said, "I'm not staying there. I just went in the store." I said, "I'm not even from Somerset." "I don't care. You got the ticket." And he walked away. That was it. 1 minute past 3, they started tagging everybody. And if it was they were towing, they would have towed it 1 minute past 3. Guess what? I don't go near Somerset if there's a parking ban now, because I got a ticket and I was there like a minute and a half after the ban. If I was 2 streets over, I probably would have. I would have been back in my car and on my way home. But the reality is, they started when the parking ban, and that particular storm never came. It wasn't even going to be a major storm. It was going to be a little bit of accumulation. They had a parking ban in place, and they tagged everybody. And people are going to complain, but hey, this is what happens. We had a fire. Fortunately enough, they got people out, and there was. But I mean, we ended up with a catastrophe because the parking ban wasn't enforced properly. And then I love the excuses. Well, we normally do that at midnight. When do we normally do that at midnight? You normally do it when the parking ban begins, and you had almost a 12-hour gap.
Right.
To start towing. And I can guarantee you, if the word went out across the city that cars were getting towed, they would have taken those cars out of there so quickly your head would have spun. But then again, this is government. They like photo ops, and they like to listen to themselves talk. And that's the problem. The problem is, and I saw our mayor talking about the fire and stuff, and, I know one channel had the chief in charge, and, he was, I don't know what it was another photo op for him, because let me tell you something. They won't tell you this, but I will. You don't have to go down there. I'm not going to go to the school. When you worked in the school department, I wasn't going to go to the school department and tell you how to run the school department. You know what you order the fire department? An obstruction. I love it when politicians come up and want to know what's going on in the middle of a fire. So I'm going to give you a little education, you and the rest of the clown politicians. This is the way it works at a fire. If you got a scanner at City Hall, this is the way it works. And I lived this because I did this one time. Everybody's going to call. Everybody calls the fire chief. Everybody calls everybody. What's going on? What's going on? There's a fire. There's a fire. This is the way it works. Apparatus get to the scene. They go, we got heavy smoke showing. We got a working fire. Then you hear a whole bunch of traffic on the radio. Give me the water with, the hydrants, blah, blah, blah. Then it's dead silence. That's when they all start calling. What's going on? I'll tell you what's going on, you dummies. They're working. They're working. And you're interfering with them working. And you're going to get the incident commander away from the incident to answer calls from some clown politician. They're laying lines, they're putting up ladders, they're doing what they got to do. That's what they're doing. And I said that once on the radio. Because I had a working fire, and the chief called me because politicians were calling him, and I told him, I'm running a fire operation, and I threw the radio out the window. And I got witnesses. Because that's the way it works. Let them do their damn job. You go ask your questions afterwards. Read the fire report. Don't be going in the middle of an operation, because, of course, the chief of the department, you're his boss. He's going to have to stop. The incident commander is going to stop, and if the incident commander stopped to answer your questions, shame on him. He should have told you, I'm running a fire operation. So the reality is, this whole thing was a disaster. The only people that deserve any recognition are the people. People don't realize that was probably the worst case scenario you could ever have. The 2 worst times to fight a fire are in the winter, in snow, in freezing temperatures, and in the heat, because then you got to deal with heat exhaustion for the firefighters.
But not only that, you had a heavy wind.
But you got heavy wind. It was in the middle of the blizzard. None of the hydrants had been shoveled out because people weren't even beginning to shovel their cars out, so you probably couldn't even see the hydrants. So they had to shovel hydrants out, they had to drag hose, they had ice all over the place. Somebody told me they went by there today, it still looks like an ice skating rink. Been there, done that. Worst possible conditions for those firefighters to deal with. And what happened to exacerbate it? Cars on both sides of the street. They couldn't get up. They couldn't get into the closest proximity they needed to make their job a little bit easier. It was a horrifically difficult job at best, and it made it worse because the city didn't enforce its parking ban. And then everybody decided to ask questions and go on TV later. So, forgive me if that's a sensitive subject for me, because I know what they went through. So,
Well, and again, I've got to reach out and say, our firefighters did the best they could with the situation they were in, and I think they did a pretty damn good job.
Very
when
good.
you consider there were only 2 injuries, and I don't want to hear firefighters getting injured, but both of those firefighters are home recovering, so the injuries couldn't have been that severe. And we wish you the best, and our thoughts and prayers are out there for you. And I'll tell you now, I have no respect for the people on Irving Street who parked on both sides of the street, not caring. This is what happens when you're ignorant. This is what happens when you're ignorant. Okay? I know it's tough to find parking, especially in the Flint. Okay? But there's parking available somewhere. You were just too lazy to walk to your house from where you could park. And that's what happens. Laziness creates havoc, creates danger, creates death. Okay? This building fell right to the ground. Right to the ground.
yep.
That was it, right to the ground. Somebody could have been in that building when it collapsed. Somebody could have been there when it collapsed. I know there's a vehicle out on the street that's been damaged because the building went right down on the vehicle.
Yeah, well, with that job, and the conditions are horrible. You never know. You never know what's going to happen in a building. I had a building blow up on me on 4th of July many years ago, and it was 4th of July. Weather wasn't bad. Wasn't extremely hot. We got there, and there was a gas leak inside the building. We were setting up, and the walls blew out, and the wall buried 3 or 4 cars that were parked on Tuttle Street. So, that's the job. And the job, look, tremendously difficult job. Very, very high probability of injuries. A lot of ice. The ladders are full of ice. The streets are full of ice. You got to drag hose. You're moving. Slips and falls. Even ladders freeze sometime. You can't even retract them sometime. We had a 50-foot banger many years ago that in front of George's Hot Dogs that came flying off the building and crashed down into the middle of Pleasant Street. Terrible conditions to fight fires. Firefighting is a very difficult job to begin with. You put those conditions on to exacerbate it, and then as you said, again, why doesn't the city, number one, enforce the parking ban when they do it? Why don't they have parking facilities designated for people?
They did.
Right?
They designated them. And they even told them where they were, and there was one right on Cash Street.
Well, Cash Street, well, yeah, God, that's like, wow. That's a long walk, like you said. They don't want to walk.
They don't want to walk.
So if they've designated parking areas, there's no excuse for it. Just like the day after the storm. After I cleared my driveway 27 times after they kept plowing it in, which really irritates me. Why can't they just push it to the end of the street? But no, they just keep.
Well, at least you got a plow. I didn't even get a plow.
Plowing in the driveway. But then I went out. The roads weren't, they're not great, but they weren't bad. But then I'm coming back up Eastern Avenue, and I got half of the people throwing the stuff in the middle of the street in Eastern Avenue.
Yeah.
And it's like, people, this is the kind of thing that makes everything difficult for everybody. You know, and obviously I know what their thing was. Well, Eastern Avenue is heavily traveled. We'll throw the stuff in the middle of the street and the cars will just flatten it out. But nobody cared. There were cars double parked and snow blowers in the middle of Eastern Avenue. You had to go around. It was, you know, I mean, just absolutely no consideration for everybody. Everybody should work together. I mean, my street was pretty good. I had my snow blow out. My neighbors had their snow blowers out. We went over and helped a few people that were on the non-hydrant side to get the big portions away from their car because they were buried. And I mean, compared to '78, to me, this was a small time blizzard because it took us about 2 weeks to get out of that blizzard of '78. But
and this one's going to take us 3 days because Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday we're going to have rain.
Besides the fire, I think the city's handled it, pretty well, and except for enforcing, hopefully this is a lesson learned. If you're going to do a parking ban, either do it or don't even threaten it. If you're going to tow cars, don't say you're going to tow cars and not tow cars. If you're going to say there's a parking ban and you're going to tag. If you're going to tow. But after what this happened, look, it's a classic example of, what can happen in situations like this. The worst possible, and the firefighters did a great job there. They had exposures, 3-deckers, and heavy wind, gusting wind. And people don't realize it's a pretty good feat just to contain it to that one building. Obviously, the building was gone, but just pay attention to the news sometime in other cities where you see 3-deckers going. That's because they couldn't stop it, and that's the first thing you have to do. Exposures. You have to locate, confine, and then extinguish. So you have to confine the fire. So they confined it to the building of its origin. Obviously, there's a little bit of damage to other buildings, but all in all, with the conditions, they did a great job.
Yeah.
And that's what's got to be done. And let's not make their job more difficult. Rather than get on TV and for a photo op to talk about the fire, figure out how you can help these guys have an easier time under those conditions and any conditions.
Well, I agree. I think that the Fall River Fire Department did a great job. And right now, the community is pulling together to find out what these people need, and they're getting it for them. And, they're doing collections for toiletries, clothes, whatever these people may need, because one of the main things they need is a house to live in. And I'll tell you now, finding an apartment is very difficult in Fall River. Yeah. So they may have some difficulty.
And that's the tremendous aspect of tragedy people don't realize, because fires like this, people lose everything, virtually everything. All the memories of their lives, pictures, photos, gone, just about gone. And it's tragic, but we've got to learn lessons. If we don't learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it. So let's learn from this, and hopefully we won't get another blizzard this year. I've had enough.
I've had enough of it too.
One blizzard's enough for me. But
exactly.
Hopefully we'll learn from this, and if you park on the wrong side of the street after you've been warned, you deserve the consequences.
That's it.
It's that simple.
There's no question about it.
So,
well, now on to the plow job, for the lack of a better expression. They plowed you in several times. Lucky you at least had a snowplow. I had none. Many places in the city did not see a snowplow. And I received an email from a former mayor.
A former mayor. Who shall remain nameless.
Shall remain nameless, who turned around and said that snow removal in Fall River is the biggest scam they have. You ask them for receipts, invoices, they don't have them. Don't even try to get them. They can deficit spend the budget all they want, and there's no guarantee that you're going to get what you pay for.
And there's no GPS, we've been told now.
That's right. Well,
there's
yes.
a lot of rumors swirling around the snow and snow removal budget.
Right.
And we all know how that contractor, that excavator got paid, right? Mm-hmm. And this has always been a boondoggle in Fall River. But then again, now you know why the new city administrator don't want to touch finances, because the fact is that Fall River's never been able to tell you where the money's gone for the last 40 years.
Right.
They never know where the money is. That's why when you say forensic audit, everybody's head bursts into flames in City Hall. And they start running around screaming, oh, it's criminal, it's criminal. No forensic audit, no forensic audit. Nobody, we have never, from all the way back to long before Cranberry Coat, what was his famous line? I'll get back to you on that one. That was his famous line. Get down there, it's your job to have the numbers. You sit down in front of council, they ask you a question, you go, I'll get back to you on that one. Well, how about this? I'll get back to you on that too. Or we don't have those numbers right now. We don't have anything.
Who else used to say that?
Everybody.
Yeah, everyone that's been in this position
The
say
only
that.
the only people never said that. You have to go back, like I said, you have to go back
50
to the
years.
80s.
Yeah.
To the 80s. You know, Connors had the numbers, Alan Silver had the numbers, Jim Smith had the numbers. Once you lost those city administrators,
that was it,
who were not lawyers or were not mall managers, and then we got the greater the financial team grew, the less effective it was.
Exactly.
Now in those days we had an auditor, a treasurer, and then we had a city administrator starting in the 80s. And we always got the answers in front of the council. Department heads knew their numbers. Administrators knew their numbers. Now we've got CFOs, entire treasurer's department's got all kinds of employees. You know, the auditor's got employees. Yep. They got some in the school department. And now every time you get a question, the number's either wrong or they don't have it.
Yep.
You know, I'm still waiting from 2016 for the $44,000 that employees gave for their health care. They were self-payers, what we call self-payers. And they gave it to the city, and the city inadvertently, you know, that's the word they'll say, it was mistakenly put into the city account. It was found. And I asked afterwards, well, where did it go? After they put it in, it's $44,000. It took a while to find that money. Did that money migrate anywhere? I'd like to know exactly what account that went in originally rather than the account it was statutorily required to go into. And did it migrate anywhere? 2022, I'm still waiting.
Are you holding your breath?
I got the letter. I still got a copy of the letter.
Are you holding your breath?
No, I'm not. Man, they'll never know. You know, they never knew where the money. They never know where the money. Well, they know where the money is, but they won't tell you. They play Chinese checkers with it. But listen, there's a lot of rumors going around about
Yes.
some shady stuff.
Yep,
we have to confirm it. So.
Yep, I spoke to a city councilor over the time of the storm several times, and I brought up several issues that were brought to me by people. One was that salt was being stolen. Another was that there's no GPS in the trucks, that we don't have enough trucks on the road. Here's the responses I received. No salt is being stolen. They know that for a fact. They say that no salt's being stolen. As for GPS, the mayor was unaware that every truck in the city did not have GPS in it, and that's going to change for the next snowstorm.
Okay, we'll give them that. We'll give them the opportunity.
They had 125 trucks on the road. Obviously, that wasn't enough. Okay, they can deficit spend. If they can deficit spend, they could have had these streets clear. Okay, and granted, you know, they can't get every single street clear. Some of the side streets are just going to have to go. They got the main roads pretty much open, as you saw. But then again, you also saw on Eastern Avenue, which is a main road, that there was a snowblower in the middle of it.
And people were shoveling all the snow into the middle of the thing. But as you said, there's a lot of things swirling around. So, but we try to be fair. So the mayor now said that he wasn't aware of the GPS situation. So now he's going to address that. So we're going to give him a chance to address it. and we'll see what happens. And let's see if we get the transparency that he comes out and tells everybody that now everybody will have a GPS that's working for the city. I don't know how he knows that no salt's been stolen unless they counted the salt granules, but I don't know.
Well, I think
they
one of the
weigh it or something. I don't know.
I think one of the interesting things also was the fact that when a city councilor asked for salt and sanding, where are they? The response was, if we can find a supervisor, we will start salting and sanding the roads at 3 a.m. If they can find a supervisor. Why couldn't John Perry be the supervisor?
It doesn't make any difference. You have to be there. It's like the fire department. If you got a general alarm, you got to come in.
Right.
You don't have, it's not a discretionary overtime. You got a snowstorm, we had a blizzard alert, we were well aware this was coming. They should have had people ready to come in.
That's right.
Because that's their job, okay? So, hey, we'll see what happens. But I got to just quickly, because we're running out of time, we always talk about government and us being their pets. And, we're like their petting zoo. And we talked about how the rich talked in the 1850s, we're the rich and we run it. But I saw something that was really distressing. I actually saw someone articulate this. It was amazing to see. You can look at it later. And I'm going to give everybody, her name. I'm saying it's Negari. I may mispronounce her first name. It's you can write it down if you'd like. N-G-A-I-R-E, Woods. Well, that's pretty easy to pronounce, Woods. She is the founding dean of Blavatnik School of Government, and she is a professor of global economic governance. She's one of the people that sits around with all the other, as she called them, because I saw her interview, the elites, not elites, elites. We elites have to get a global government. They want to destroy all nations. This is what she's in favor of with the rest of the billionaires. She is a global governance, and she said, I find it difficult because we polled every country in the world, and the regular people do not trust the elites. But the good thing is, we elites trust each other. It's horrifying. This woman thinks anybody that isn't a professor at Oxford is like a pet. See, don't tell me there isn't class warfare here. They don't even want, that's why it's open borders, the billionaires, because they want a global government. They don't want America. They don't want anything. China, like China is, everything's global. We're going to have a global government. So look her up. Don't take my word for it. And look up that interview she did at some summit they had. But it's Negari Woods. Google her. There's a whole ton of stuff on her. But she thinks that the elites should run the world, not the people.
The elites.
Elites. That's what she pronounced it.
A whole new group of people. We have the elite now, and now we have the elites.
I guess they're above the elites because they're elites.
They're elites. So the elites must be the E group.
I got another word that starts with A I can call her. But I'm not going to do it on the show.
Oh, God. We are in such, we're in such a rare form. I guess the snow really did us in.
Yeah.
It did us in. And I'll tell you now, everyone complains about the snow removal. Everyone complains about the snow. Mother Nature did what she does best. She socked it to us. But remember, this is only going to last for 3 days. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, the temperature is going to be in the high 40s, low 50s, and it's supposed to rain. So a lot of this snow is going to be gone. Yeah. So hopefully we can stretch out till that point in time. Yeah. I want to thank you all for watching, and thank you for inviting us into your home. And remember, if you're going to go out today, drive safe and stay cautious of people next to a Dunkin' Donuts. And thanks for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. Have a great day.
And remember the victims of the fire.